Hi, I'm Proma,
And I'm Radhika, and
and
together,
together we're Prom Rad.
so we're thrilled to be joined today by Rebecca Roberts and Kurt Szarka, who are the founders of the new independent film production company called ReadyMade Productions. They are also the stars of their label's first film called Brother, which is a psychological thriller about a woman returning home after her brother's mysterious disappearance. Rebecca also wrote the film, which is available on Apple. So,
Hmm.
jumping right into it, Rebecca, I just wanted to talk about mining your life for this film. What was the process and what made
Mhm.
you want to tell the story in this format?
I am such a film lover, art lover. I always try to feel seen by going and seeking out plays or film. That's my language, right? I love sitting in some kind of narrative story to then feel seen. I unfortunately have a loved one that struggled with addiction and with we've been dealing with it for decades now. A really big moment had happened and it was pretty heavy. I was really struggling to figure out how to navigate that situation. And so of course I searched for titles that were about families dealing with addiction or spouses dealing with addiction. And there were some great movies, incredible movies, but they were all either from the perspective of the addict or the addict was the supporting character. And it wasn't the experience I was going through, which was the family feeling completely on the outside of it, no control, not knowing how to deal with it, not knowing how it's actually even impacting the family. And so Kurt had the idea. He was like, why don't go and write it? And I knew I couldn't write something. I didn't want to write true because I was in it. It was too close. So we wrote a fictional family, the Miller family, and decided to be as trauma informed as we could. We reached out to therapists, we reached out to people that deal with addiction, and we knew it would be a psychological thriller because that it's a psychological thing that you're going through. So it was just a natural place for it. Through creating a fictional family, there's a lot of deeper truths, like even silly throwaway lines in the movie about we don't do apologies here. The siblings say that. Well, it's something when you deal with addiction, you stop asking for apologies, right? You stop asking for all that. So all of this stuff is grounded in a very true experience that I just wasn't seeing on screen because so often you're told it's not your story to tell, right? The person who's the identified person is struggling and they become the focus and rightfully so. It's an awful experience that person's going through. It's an awful thing to have to battle. But it does impact the families. And so there needs to be spaces for that conversation as well. And I wasn't seeing it. Then became the battle of how do we make a story that's telling that story, making it psychological, but not hitting into horror too much that we're also vilifying the family. Like it was a balancing act. It came from pain and searching something that I could feel seen in. I think the beautiful part of it was when we were on set, the crew slowly started to share their stories because they felt seen in some of these characters. It became a very family project and one that we hope reaches the right people because it's for the ones that feel like it's not their story to tell.
It's interesting that you talk about consciously keeping the focus on the family because I did notice that when I was watching it is that there isn't a ton of discussion among them about the addiction, about this character's history, but it's kind of just, it's alluded to here and there. It's also the understood that they share the context, but it stays on how that impacted these individuals and their lives have kind of just coalesced around it.
It was a conscious choice while we were doing it that if we bring too much of the aspect in them into it, then it's their story again. Their story's driving the narrative versus the family actually having to deal with for the first time, not necessarily knowing why they're this way, but it all kind of flooding back to them and it being their story for the first time and them reclaiming their part of this. And it was really challenging, I think, because normally you would have this extreme conflict with this person that's there and it's something to battle against. We wanted the audience to walk away and feel the way you feel when you deal with this, which is he dead? Is he alive? That's how you feel constantly as the person going through it. So by not giving you all the information, you're living in the state that the family is living in.
Yeah, because he
Yeah.
looms large even in his absence throughout the film.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was a conscious decision to just to make him be this ever present figure that almost haunts them in many ways, but at the same time they can't do anything about it.
You mentioned that it was a psychological thriller and that felt obvious to you. I'm curious, can you expand a little bit more? Because I almost feel like drama wouldn't be the most obvious choice. So tell us a little bit more about why a psychological thriller felt right for this.
For us, what we were going through in that moment was this psychological trauma of dealing with somebody you care about doing really bad things, probably because of the addiction, not because of who they are. It feels like hell because you're doing everything you can to control it, but you can't fix it. And you just feel like this person that's not even in control of their own life is controlling your life. And so it is almost like its own horror story in many ways. I think for people going through the extreme versions of this, the version of it where crimes involved, people are getting hurt, it's really negative space. It is like a psychological thriller because you are mentally constantly going through those hurdles. You are constantly battling the idea of caring about this person, but they're doing awful things, and then questioning yourself because should I care about this person? Should I not care about this person? And then not realizing the damage it does to you when your identity is your family, and suddenly this person is wreaking havoc. And so that's why it felt for this movie. I know if we told the true version, probably, yeah, we'd sit more into a drama. But in the moment that we were going through the really intense moments of really bad things happening, we were like, this is like being in a psychological torture chamber.
Yeah, why don't you tell us about the journey to like making this movie, assembling the cast and crew, all of it? Did you want to go the traditional route or the indie route? And just let's talk through the whole process.
Well, I mean, first I give it to Kurt once it's written. We were already in talks with other studios with our projects. So we were like, well, why don't we go make it? It was after the strikes. So everybody was out of work. There wasn't really a choice at that moment to be like, oh, we'll go to, whoever to do this. Kurt and we chatted, and Kurt's, luckily his entire background is in finance and is in business before being an actor. But it really was a case of there's no work in the industry. Everybody's out. And I remember we were living in Las Feliz in LA, and we're like, my God, it was like a ghost town. So it's just, it really shifted. And so it almost felt like we just were like, let's go create a studio. We have all the stuff, we have all the things, and we know everybody. And we're like, let's get everyone working.
It became obvious at some point that we did want to create our own projects. We wanted to keep control over the creative, over the IP, over the business aspect of it. With Brother, it really just felt right. It felt like the right project to kick the studio off with and to go make it. Like Rebecca said, it was right after the strikes. We were really figuring out where things were headed in the industry, what things were going to look like. And with the company, we decided we wanted to create opportunities. We wanted to bring everyone together and get everybody working again. We had an incredibly talented crew behind the camera. We just figured out a way that we could bring everyone together and make Brother, and that would be the start of ReadyMade. I mean, we have 8 feature films in development and 2 limited series right now that we're in different stage of development with, and this felt like the right one to kick things off with. And we started building the business and the infrastructure, long before we got started with Brother. And so we had been building that for a long time, because in order to create a viable, sustainable business beyond Brother, we knew that we had to have the groundwork and the infrastructure and everything, a strong foundation to move forward. And so it was understanding not only where we were at as a business, but where the industry is at and where the industry is heading, right? And so, yeah, we started putting the pieces together for Brother. It felt right to shoot it in the base of the Rocky Mountains, where it was extremely cold, extremely isolating. Like Rebecca said, we wanted that feeling of when you step into the house, this chilling feeling, right? We wanted, like, visually even to make the viewer feel cold when they're stepping in the house. Like, this is not a home, right? This is a house. And so we started putting the pieces together. We raised the capital. We put all of everything in motion that we needed to go shoot the film and beyond. Everything that would give us that momentum to carry on. And yeah, it was an incredible experience shooting Brother, and from there we've carried on, and we've got multiple other projects in the work right now as well. So
we were very lucky that Calgary is very much that community driven, creatively driven place. It is one of the most beautiful landscapes you'll ever see in your life. It is just unreal. It was this entire community rallied, came together. We had brand new people studying right next to the best in the industry on this set. We made sure there was interns. We made sure the next generation was training right next to them. And because we let them be creative, because we owned the content, we didn't sell it to anyone, we could let them do crazy stuff. And they were utilizing stuff they've not used for 20 years. The camera team were like, oh, we haven't used this kind of stuff since digital. And now we're going to try it. And these younger generation is learning underneath them all these older techniques. I realize how valuable independent film is, because on big sets you're moving quickly. We've both worked on big shows, but it's all about, we've got 300 people on set, and you're not getting that one-on-one time. And so on Brother, it really was a family, and this movie was wild to see the not old, they're not old, established, working alongside new. It was the right thing to do. And this was always meant to be a training ground for us. We just want to keep building so that we build opportunities for these people.
That's super impressive. And yeah, I do want to get into talking more about ReadyMade Productions. You've called the studio a new kind of home for independent film, created
Mm.
by creatives for creatives. So can you tell us a little bit more about that and what makes it different from other indie production houses?
I think it's incredible. There's a bunch of amazing newest independent artists coming up. I just get so excited when I see it. I don't think there's a right or wrong way. I think everybody's got a unique voice and a unique perspective. I think that what we're trying to do, though, is integrate the entire system into one space so that we can control everything, control the content. And that just means not control for us, but control for the creatives. It means that we can be on set and we can say yes to everything. And if we're raising the capital ourselves and taking it to the audience, we can control more of that environment so that we can make sure that the culture is good, that we're keeping people to 12 hours and under, that we're making sure everybody is being treated well. We can make sure that it's an inclusive set. We can make sure that we're controlling the creative. So if they've got ideas, they can run with them and go with them and push them to the limits. We are small enough that we can try new innovative techniques, and we've got a new post system that I can't talk about yet, but that would completely cut down post. So I think what makes us unique is the sense that both of us have worked at the highest levels in the industry, and then now we're working on the indie side, and we're blending all this mass amounts of experience from the studio levels that we have access right at our fingertips to with independent. So we're not compromising on quality. We're not compromising on anything. We're able to just figure out, well, how do we do this in a streamlined way so that it's efficient and that we can control culture, we care about people, and we can let creative run free a little bit, right? And so what's unique for us is where we are, where we're located, and the fact that we have access to the people that are the best in the industry and new in the industry, and we're blending those two worlds together and trying to create the space in the middle. Hopefully, as we grow, we can keep finding those people that are just on the precipice and giving them that shot. And the bigger we get, the more we can inject that capital and give them that space to keep telling their stories and pushing boundaries. And I think that's where we've been lucky, is our knowledge has allowed us to, and our contacts have allowed us to bring in, new people, but also people that deserve their big shot, their big break, their moment. We always say we're a family, and our guiding light is made right, which means, like, for us, what that means is making sure everyone feels safe, everyone feels included, everyone's voice is heard. It's a round table, and making sure we're always trying to keep the audience in mind, but making sure that we're doing something creative that feels good for everybody that's making it, so that when they go home after their 12 hours, they're not like exhausted and drained. They're excited. That's kind of our guiding principle. And I just hope we can keep going. I hope all of the independents keep growing. We need more. We just need more.
Honestly, that answer is very inspiring. So I'm glad your approach, because I live out here in LA and everyone in Hollywood is just talking about the studio mergers and AI. And those are the two
Yeah.
big daunting things that are coming. So you guys are both wearing multiple hats in the industry. So I'm curious how you guys are thinking about those potential blocks, or maybe you're not seeing them as roadblocks. I don't know. So what is your take on those two topics?
It's interesting that the landscape is ever changing. It's changing day by day. And I think I think being flexible and nimble, is the greatest asset at this point, right? I think nobody knows what the future holds. And there's certain things that, yeah, on the surface, it's concerning. There's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of fear going around right now, and it's warranted. But we feel like with the consolidation, with all of that, there's creating a bigger white space, the gaps in between for opportunity for new entrepreneurs to come up, for innovation, right? You see it not only in our industry but in several industries, right? Consolidation is not new. It's been happening for a long, long time. And so I think it's just, although certain things like AI are more unprecedented, we remain extremely optimistic, and we're moving forward full force.
And one to add to Kurt, I think the noise is very loud. The AI and it's all ending. The constant rhetoric of like independent is dead, and it's just this is a clickbait moment, right? And I hear that, but I also, you know, we go on the ground and we, as I said earlier, we started this like social series because we always want to have an element where we're giving back. So we're going to do these interviews with everybody that's really big and established in our industry to give advice to young filmmakers. So we're doing that right now. And it's been the best thing in the world to sit with the people that do this every day, have done this over, one of the guys we met has done 9 Oscar movies, 150 productions. He sits with you and he goes, there'll always be stories to tell. It's always going to happen. There's always going to be movies, guys. He's been through it. We've seen these cycles, He talked about United Artists, and he worked on one of the last projects they did. And actually, when we were listening, we were like, if you keep those big tent poles and if they continue to succeed, right? Say there's 10 of them and they all continue to thrive. There's no new company. There's no new Disney. There's no new, Universal Studios was a B studio back in the day. It was not the big studio that it is today. It was then the creatives flooded to Universal because they had more freedom. And then Universal became Universal. And so I think that it is scary. It's really troubling. The pain that everyone's going through right now of the retraction is hard to watch. It drives us every day. We get calls from crew, from teams every day who are deserving. They should be on set. They should be creating. That's what they're meant to be doing. But it just actually drives us. I don't know. I look at it and go, then we've got to get to work and find new ways. And it's like I was saying to you guys earlier, it's like what's impressive is people like yourselves who've worked in traditional media, building new spaces to bring independents on, to talk to them, to take them to market. It might not look the way that it used to look. It might not be that we go and all sit at a panel and we're one of 5 movies that are out or whatever. Instead, we've got access to everybody through a phone now. It's crazy. The landscape is shifting, and we can see the negative, or we can see it as Kurt and I can literally make a movie and sit on a podcast with people like yourself who are informed and people trust and have spent years in this industry and talk about a movie and then take it to the audience. There's no gatekeepers anymore. So I do think that the only thing I would hope for people trying this out and doing it different ways and feeling dejected is that you almost have to go through a grieving process of that it might not look the way you thought it was going to look when you were a kid. It might not be the traditional path. But if you can just decide and make it about just the community, focus on the incredible filmmakers and the artists you're working with, and keep motivated by that, and then reach out and speak to people who are like-minded, who love movies. I just don't believe it's going to die there's too many people that love movies. There's just too many. So I don't know, maybe I'm like a hopeless optimist in the world, I guess, but I just think there's too much talent. There's too much demand in the market. The marketplace is not saying we don't want movies. It just might look different.
I do want to ask, I ask everybody this. What's one thing that you wish you knew earlier in this, it can be in this process with ReadyMade or earlier in your career, and then one piece of advice that you would give someone who is starting out now?
That's a great question. One of the things I would say that, and especially as we move through this process, and this is with a lot of things, it's just be open to learning all the time, right? I think through this process, you think you know something, and then until you go through it, you figure out you really didn't, or you knew a fraction of it, right? And you but if you're open to learning and open to it not necessarily looking the way that you had planned it out, or and that goes for the business and the creative, right? Because as things evolve, everything is changing, and so as long as you're flexible, I think that's a huge asset, to just be flexible and adaptable, and take things as they come, and take the information in, and just from a very neutral position, and just decide what's the best way forward. Because like Rebecca said, the demand is still there. um it's not going away, but it just might not look the same way as we thought it would, or things are different, or you know the status quo is breaking, right? And I mean, there's a quote I love, that's never let a good crisis go to waste. And I mean, that's the thing is the crisis is, yeah, it causes damage, but it also breaks down the status quo. So it means that there's room for new things to come in and figure out a new way, figure out a new process. And that's the thing that we love. That's the thing um that juices us. And I think that the thing that a lot of entrepreneurs like is that there's always opportunity, right? And but like Rebecca said, it's not to say it's without challenges and fear and pain. It's not easy, but I do think that new ways and new innovative ways will emerge from this, and that's what's exciting. And I think, so bringing it back to your question, what I would tell someone getting in or wanting to do this is just be patient, just learn, just listen, figure out what it is you want to do, and how you can do it, where it fits, right? And so it's just so fascinating that whether you're a small company or you're a big studio right now, everybody's competing for audience, right? Attention is the biggest commodity right now. And so everybody's competing for that. And yeah, different companies, studios have more resources, things like that. There's always going to be those factors, right? But figuring out how you moving quickly, just being patient, and just figuring it out along the way. And so, I mean, that's a very long-winded answer, but I think there's so many things for myself that I learn new things every day. And it's just, I think the biggest thing for me is just being open to learning and growing as you go.
The thing I wish I knew when I was younger, I thought I had to do everything. They always quote the Steve Martin thing, be so great they can't ignore you. It's such a beautiful quote and it's fantastic. But the reality is, you can also be the greatest person in the room and still not get the job. Like, that's just the reality of the arts in general, right? I used to do theater in London. Like, I could stand there and watch 10 people do an audition. And in theater, they make you actually sit there and you can watch it, which was painful. And everyone is brilliant. It's not that anybody's more deserving. And I think the thing that has really helped us was at the very beginning of this process. It was one of the consultants that came on with us, Bruce, and he said, one step at a time, and you only have to know what you know. And when you hit something you don't know, you find someone that does. And that's not weakness. That actually builds out a company where you're not trying to do everything. You cannot be the best at everything. And that's okay. Like, it's actually, the more you invite the people that focus in those departments or focus or in what they do, and you bring them on and you let them be brilliant at what they do, the more success you're going to have. So if you're an actor or an artist wanting to make a movie, your first movie, you don't have to do everything. Like, you've just got to find somebody who is really good at that one thing that you're not good at, and then work with that person. And you might not make money at the beginning, but just try it out and then build your team out and grow like that. And that's the thing I just wish I had known. Like, I think I burnt myself out so much thinking I had to be able to do everything, especially in 2026. Like, you've got to be your own marketing team, you've got to be on social media, you've got to be training, you've got to be all this stuff. And so I just think my advice to everyone is, like, you're not in it alone. There's a bunch of people wanting to do this. There's a bunch of people whose skills are different than yours and who are actively looking for you. So even if the industry is saying no, I am sure there's some director, cinematographer, producer looking for you today. like actually. And so, and you might not make money at the beginning, but if you peer network, you're all going to rise together and grow together. Once we realized that, we started to get a lot of momentum, and we started to really take off. And then the pressure, like suddenly I can just sit and do what I'm supposed to be doing. And it's fantastic. And that's the thing I wish I'd known when I was younger. I wish I'd have had the confidence to, I thought I had to do everything, and you don't.
I really love that message because it's so focused on teamwork and collaboration. And I think, especially in America, we're taught individualistic is the way to go. And I fundamentally disagree with that. So I'm really excited to see what you both do with Ready Made. I know you mentioned you had a couple of features and some limited series coming up. Is there anything that you can tell us about the projects or what you're excited about in the future?
My favorite show growing up was 24. I freaking loved the 90s. I loved the way shows were back. There was just like this thing about them that was, it was like raw, but at the same time beautiful. For anybody who loves 24, but was a woman and didn't feel them seen in Jack Bauer, they were like, because the women were sometimes side characters. We basically created like a 24 meets Killing Eve with a touch of Lioness in there. And that's the one that we've got at network right now, and we're trying to build out. I think all of our movies and shows have this idea of breaking stereotypes. I think I've become very obsessed with that as a writer. And so that show is very much about taking the stereotype that I was always told as a female writer, that I should do rom-coms and I should write those type of shows. So like we really, part of my language, but we really fuck with that in our show. It's very much about saying kind of, you think I'm this, but then we're going to just every 5 seconds pivot to something else. So that show's really fun. Our feature that we've got a couple, we're just trying to decide which one we're going to do. But one is a romantic comedy, ironically, as I just said that. But it's more of like a grounded 90s way of doing it, where it's actually got a deeper message. That one we're really excited because I used to be in the music industry. It's got music in it. It's a bit more of a feat. It's called Three Chords. But then probably the one we're going to do next is called Hidden for now. That one's tackles domestic violence. That one's more in alignment with sort of taking what we learned from Brother and going really on steroids and going really far with it. And it slips more into the horror action world. It's like a history of violence kind of meeting with Sleeping with the Enemy. So we're really excited about those ones. We have a bunch of other ones that I'm like, whatever goes, goes. Because we want to just keep speaking to the audience now and start listening and going, what do you want to see? And start that collaborative conversation with everyone and say what's missing and what stories do we don't want to be stuck in one genre. We kind of always want to push ourselves to be just doing something that feels right for the moment. But those are the shows that I think those are the ones that right now are up on the wall, and those are the ones that are our focus. They're all pretty much female led and female driven. That's just because I'm writing right now. But we do get pitched projects, and we are looking at those as well that would take us into different territory, and we're more than open to all of that.
We have a lot of time for rom-coms, so very excited about that.
Yeah.
So in that, are you basically making projects that you are writing and starring in, or are you, like you mentioned, you're also getting pitches, like what is the outlook for future of the company in that sense?
The content that we have right now, I've written just because when we started the company, a huge investment is creative, is literally buying creative and owning creative and IP. And so I mean, look at Ryan Coogler. He's sitting there going, we need to own as much of this as possible. And he's 100% right. And that is what needs to happen is creatives need to have a bigger stake in their projects. So for now, it's all stuff that I've written and developed. But we have started hearing pitches and people are pitching out as other content. We can't just make movies that I've written. We hope the company continues to grow and new voices, if it's a story that's exciting, we've said that we're like, as long as we can do it and we can do it justice and we can give them what they need to feel supported, then we'll do it. I'm a very egoless writer. I'm always just like, I give it to the director and I go, yeah, do whatever you want with it, right? Like I'm very hands off with artists too and actors, because I'm an actor. I'm like, you've got to make it your own, go for it. I'm not tied to each line being perfect. So as long as there's a collaboration where somebody feels comfortable to give a director that freedom and is comfortable being on set and adapting with the creative so that we can build out the best project, then we're definitely open to it.
Amazing. Well, we have loved talking to you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we wrap, can you tell everyone where they can find Brother to watch it and connect with both of you and Ready Made Productions?
So, Brother is now available on Apple TV, Amazon Prime, and Google Play. And if you would like to connect to us, we do have our website, ReadyMadeProductions.com. There's also BrotherFeatureFilm.com. And if you want to subscribe to our drops bi-weekly, we will send on a Friday behind the scenes updates, and we want to include the audience in the process. So if you want to see some of that, feel free to subscribe and join our company. We love to hear people's thoughts. We want to engage with everyone. So the more we hear from the audience, the more we know which direction to move in. So please feel free to subscribe, and then we can hear your voice.
Amazing. Well, we're really excited about what you guys are building. So congratulations on everything, and we're excited to follow
Yeah.
the journey.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. Thanks for having us on and chatting today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. And congratulations again on Brother.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for having us, and congrats on your podcast. It's really exciting. So, yeah, thank you.
We love independent productions all around.
I hate tequila.